Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, today is the day that we're going to finish the Grimsly Manor step-by-step tutorial. Today's it. We're going to knock it out and get it done so we can move on and start creating some other things. But today what we're going to look at is we're going to install some lights. We're going to talk about how to do the soldering. We're not actually going to do the soldering. I've already done that in a couple of other videos. I will link the soldering video and the lighting video into the description into this video. So if you want to go back and watch that, you certainly can. But this is pretty basic stuff. So we're going to talk design. We're going to show you how to cut the holes for the lights. We're going to show you how we're going to wire those lights. And then I'm going to show you how to plug that stuff in and make it all work. In addition, we're going to place the houses back onto the platform. We're going to put the lights in those. We're going to plug all of that in. And then we're going to start decorating the yard with some accessories, with some fallen leaves, with some all of the things that are going to help to make this look more detailed and ultimately more realistic. So hopefully you're excited to finally finish this one and to move on to something different. But before we start that, let's jump off the tripod and let me show you where we're sitting right now and what's coming. Okay, so before we jump off the tripod, let's talk about some materials and equipment that you're going to need to actually make your lighting a little bit simpler. I use these products on every display that has lights in it, and to me, I wouldn't do it really any other way, at least not yet. I haven't found a better way, let's put it that way. So the first thing I want to show you, and some of you have seen this before if you've been watching my channel for a long time, this company does not sponsor me in any way, shape, or form, but I trust them completely with my lighting and wiring needs, especially for LEDs and hookup wire. And this place is called Evan Designs, E-V-A-N Designs. It's based out of Fort Collins, Colorado. Small business, I believe, but they're quick to ship and they're very, very helpful. And so what I get now are these little kits, and these are called five-way connectors. A type of connector, five-way, length is 8 inches, and I bought 2 of them. Now I'm going to use these for different projects, so I haven't opened them. They make 3 ways and 5 ways. And what that means is essentially you get a couple of things in there. You get one little adapter that is a 3-way plug, and I know it's a little hard to see this there, but it's 3 plugs. You bring it down and solder it to a little bit of an extension, and I'll explain that on the video that you see for lighting, and then hook it up and solder it to an adapter, which is the second thing we're going to need. And this provides one power source to power either 3 in this case or up to 5 with the 5-way adapters with these for lights. The second thing you're going to need, and I get all of this off of Amazon, and these are 2.5 millimeter female adapters. Okay, so what does that look like? It looks exactly like this one, or at least similar to this one. It's a 2.5 millimeter female adapter. Why is that important? Well, because my power source typically comes from these Department 56 adapters. This is what they look like. You can get them in black or white. I typically prefer the black because of the Halloween style, and they're easier to hide. And then under this spider's nest of wires, there are 3 plugs, and these plugs just happen to be 2.5 millimeters in diameter. So you can see they fit and click in just like that. And then once this is plugged in, this powers your light source. So if you had, let's just say, for example, you had one of these adapters, right? And it's got 3 plugs on it, and you only wanted to use it for lights. If you were to go to Evan Designs and buy 3 of the 5-way lights, the cables, you could power then as many as 15 separate lights on one of these adapters, which is remarkable, at least in my opinion. I've never used 15 lights on any accessory or display before. Now that will also accommodate, those is what I use for the crypts. Several other Department 56 pieces plug into that adapter, and so you just need 1 or 2 for for the lights. You kind of get where I'm going. So that's what you need. And then what do I use for lights? Well, I typically like to use these old style Department 56 lamp posts that you can find really on eBay, quite a few of them. They're older. I don't know exactly what year they came out, but they're quite old. They come in packs of 4 or 6. I think it may be 4. Again, it could be 6. I don't know exactly, but they come in 4 or 6, and they got this little thin white wire connecting them. They're all hooked together. Every light is hooked to the other, and then they go to a white battery box. I cut the battery box off. I cut each light off at the post, and then I solder on my own wire, my red and black wire. And I'll usually either tape it down or I will use heat shrink. This has got a little bit of both on there. And then this runs all the way the full length to your platform. You just have to measure that as you go. And then it is soldered and heat shrunk again to one of the ends of those plugs that would then plug into that 5-way or that 3-way adapter. All of that comes in the same kit, so you're hooked up with everything you need there. So that's how we're going to run these lights. This is very simple because when we then drill the holes or use the hot wire foam tools to cut the holes, we only have to make a hole that is really enough to fit that little plug through. This other stuff is very, very thin, and it'll slide right through there. So that's the tools for lighting that I use. There's probably 100 different ways to do it. But when you're putting lighting all over of a platform, not all 4 right together or all 3 right together, or it comes in a box of 6 and you only need 2, it's hard to do that. So that's why I cut the lights and then kind of model them for my own use. It's much more customizable that way. So with that, let's then jump off the tripod and look at the platform and decide where we're going to put these lights. Okay, so we're going to try to keep this relatively simple in terms of lighting. So I think it kind of goes without saying that I want a light there. Okay, and then if that's the case, I probably want another light there. And then I'm only going to put 3 lights on this one, right? I mean, in theory, if this was going to be a bigger display, I'd probably have a light over here if we were continuing on that way. But then I think it would be kind of nice to have a light maybe back here on the side of this platform as well. So kind of right about there. And really then all I'm going to do is take something with a little sharpness to it and just kind of make a little indent where I want those lights to go. Now these are pretty straightforward. They're kind of going to go right there on the sidewalk. Okay, so now that we've got that done, I'm going to move these out of the way because we no longer need them for now. Move this cord out of our way with these plugs. But what we do need is our hot wire foam factory tool. Now I'm just using a straight hot knife. I've got this on and getting heated up. And so while that's happening, let me reposition this and get ready to cut, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've got the hot wire foam factory tool. This is about the 4-inch blade, 4-inch little knife here. And we know where we're going to cut. I've got the indentations marked out clearly. I would typically do this outside, but this is going to be really, really quick. And so what we're going to do is I kind of put it over my trash cans outside with a space in the middle, or here I just kind of put it over my sink. And then I'm going to go straight through the bottom, all the way through, and just kind of round out a hole big enough to get that stuff through. And it's going to look about like, and I'm just going to kind of wipe this off. It's going to look, when it's done, about like that, if you can kind of see through that hole. That's it. That's what we're trying to do. So we're going to slide the next one over and do the same thing. I want to make sure you guys can see. Okay, here comes the next one right here. We'll just make sure we're over the sink. Okay. Again, that's the second one on there. About the same hole is kind of what we're trying to do with the other. And now we've got one more, and it's going to be all the way back here on this side. So we just make sure we're over the sink again for the final hole. Okay. So you can see how simple and easy that was. We got 3 holes in about less than a minute or so, so not too difficult there. So now let's thread these lights through and see how they work. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I've got my adapter plugged in and sitting back here waiting, and so that's got electrical power to it. And now we're just going to take these and run them through. These are so flat and so thin that you don't really need to create anything underneath. They just kind of slide through to the back. And so the way I do this is I bring it off the counter so I know that it can go through all the way through. I bring it down. I reach down for it, and now I just start bringing the cord through all the way down to the light. Now the cool part is the light will sit completely flush, and with a little tension on it, it doesn't go anywhere at all. And so now we just simply bring this cord, get this other light out of the way, just to the back of the platform, just like so. It doesn't really need to sit in any channel. It's just fine where it's sitting. And then we will plug this in to one of these plugs here. We match the red to red and the black to black. And you can see that the light is now on. Okay, so we will continue to do this all the way around the display. Plug it in, and now we've got all 3 of our lights sitting right back on the edge of this display here. So now if we bring this right to the back, you can see that everything just kind of fits right there. We've got 3 lights, and we are good to go. So with that, let's now break out the houses, and we'll get the houses lit up and put them on the display. This is not the bulb or the mechanism that comes with Grimsly Manor. However, I like these really better. They last longer. You can change the colors. You don't get the soundtrack. Certainly, I have all that if I wanted to use it. That would sit right there. The cord would run out the back just the same. And we would do that. This, the garage is an adapter that takes a special adapter. It's not the 2.5 millimeter, it's a different type. And so essentially, that's why we made the hole going all the way to the base. So I'm just gonna kind of put that in there and place it preliminarily on there. I'm gonna go to the back and bring this through, all the way through. And then just round it straight out the back. We did get some extra there. Okay, so that's through, and then that plugs right into this plug, and now we've got that up and running. So powering these up and getting them to light up is relatively simple. This is an LED bulb, so it does not get hot, and it simply just sits right inside of that house, just like so. And you see the look of the house. You'll see it a lot better when we bring it down, the camera down a little bit. I'm just trying to get everything as accurately positioned as I can. So now you see the lights. And so there, now we're ready for some final decorating with a backdrop, some leaves, and get all that stuff squared away. So let's get set up for that. We'll reposition the tripod so you can see a little bit better, and we'll get started with that. Okay, a couple additional things that we want to add to this to give it a little more realism, and that is some fall leaves. Now I get these off of Amazon. If you type in miniature fall leaves or diorama leaves for fall, or model railroad leaves, something like that, different types will come up. They're all about the same, but this is what I use. And the way that I put this on is, for me, I use the matte Mod Podge, and I just put a little bit on with a paintbrush in the areas where I think it would look a little realistic to have some paint, some leaves. And so maybe like in this corner here, and we just put enough glue down. It'll dry really matte and really, it won't be bad, but something about like that for now. Okay, and then we'll just take a few of these little leaves and just kind of sprinkle them back there in that. Okay, we'll do a little bit of the yellow as well. Be a little more red. Something about like that. We don't want to get too crazy carried away with it. And then what I've got here is some glue water mixture in a small bottle, a glue bottle. And I'm just going to shake that up to make sure that it is thoroughly mixed up. And then I'm just going to add a couple of drops to the top of that and let that just sit there like that. That will ultimately dry just like that. Okay, so then we move on to the next spot where we'd want some leaves, and we probably want a few leaves adjacent to that. Right in there. Doesn't have to be nearly as much, but something about like that. Obviously we're going to put a pile here since I already dripped some. Something about like that. Now we just have to let that dry. It will take a little while, but we're going to move on. That's fine. So we know that that's what that is going to look like. And we could add more or less, but I think for what I'm going for, that's probably good. Okay, so the next thing that I want to add are some just small little details. These little street signs go perfect kind of on the street side here. That would just be absolutely perfect for the way this is set up. So we'll just kind of put that in. It's got a little sticky something on the bottom, but it kind of sits like that. So we've added some street signs there. Now everything else, all the accessories I'm going to add are parts of other Department 56 accessory kits that I've accrued over time, like these bag pumpkins, right? So you could kind of sit one here and perhaps one here to kind of showcase that he has cleaned some of the leaves up and put them in the bags, kind of facing out that way. Obviously we want trick-or-treat kids, so we can put some kids out trick-or-treating. This is one of my favorite trick-or-treating sets for the children. It just looks so incredibly cool, I think. So something like that, and then maybe this one back here like this, or something walking up this direction. So you can see how it's starting to come together now with the detail on it. And then we definitely want trees and a backdrop. So the trees need to be somewhat strategically placed. I'm gonna grab all these. I don't think you can have too many trees, personally. So the way that I would like to do the trees is we can put some of the big ones will go in the back. Trying to measure this height here. And so maybe a big tree over here, something like this, maybe over by the garage. And I just kind of press them into place there. Maybe a smaller tree up towards the front. Maybe a smaller tree yet over against the side of the house, something like that. Perhaps like that. And then some bigger trees maybe towards the back, just to give it a little bit of flavor in the back of the display. And now if we raise that up a little bit, you'll kind of get to see sort of what the trees look like. And so now we've got that. And then this is a backdrop that I created for a different display. This backdrop is poster board, a real thick poster board, the foam board rather, from the dollar store, cut with my favorite Joann material of the trees on it, and just kind of hot glued down. And so you could put a small backdrop then behind your display, something like this, so you can kind of see how the backdrop then looks against it, especially if you're going to photograph that or something. That would look really good. So let's jump off the camera now and take a more detailed look at this. Okay, so you can kind of see from the ground up of how this is really starting to shape up. And as we move in closer to take a look, especially at this level, you can kind of see how that looks with the car parked back in the garage. You've got the trees. The house is well lit up. The house, the reason I chose an orange light, and I don't know if this video does it justice, but the reason I chose an orange light is because it matches the orange on the car headlights there. You can kind of see now once the leaves actually dry, they will be crunchy, they won't come off. You could put leaves all up around the house as well. I mean, you just use your imagination of where you want the leaves to be. And then as you see, as we come around this side, you've got the trick-or-treating kids there. And then as we move back up to the house, or at least the foundation around the house, you can see that everything just kind of blends real nice. Little extra leaves over here that will dry. And then you can kind of see towards the back of the house and how everything looks towards the back. So not bad. You can see the cord going in over there. It looks really good. You would never know it, never see it. It's very well blended, so you don't have to worry about that. And it doesn't really matter from which angle that you look at it, the house or the display, it looks really, really good. Okay, well, there's a much closer look at what I'm going to call as the finished project. I hope that this part specifically here did not seem a little too rushed. I know we said we were going to do everything step by step, and we didn't do any soldering or the wiring, but there is a different video for that. I will link that in the description to this one so you can go see it if you haven't seen it already. And then also I'm taking this display this weekend out to Millie's Hallmark to be part of the class that I'm going to teach on village design, vignette design, and how to showcase some of the newer pieces along with some of the older pieces. So I wanted to get it done for that reason as well. It's been a great project for us to work on together. I hope that you guys have learned something valuable about how to build and how to design and try to make it look as realistic as possible. Any house could sit up here. It doesn't have to be Grimsly Manor. I just love that house. I love the garage. And so I wanted to try my hand at that along with that sloped driveway. I'm pleased with it. I think it turned out really well. I would proudly display this in my home and showcase this as a vignette all by itself on a bookcase or an end table or something like that, and be just fine with doing so. You guys can do the same thing. You've got every bit of the tutorials to go back and keep you company as you're learning and building and designing. And if you ever have questions, like always, leave those in the comments. I try to get back and answer every one. So hey, if you've liked this video, if you've liked this series, make sure you click the like button and let me know. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It certainly helps me out. It helps the channel to grow. And if you wouldn't mind sharing the video with those that are like-minded like us, that enjoy this hobby, let's get this hobby to grow as big and as quickly as we can. So we just share this joy with everybody, especially as we come up into the start of the Halloween building season in preparation for this year's Halloween displays within our home. So, hey, with that, we're going to cut this one off. It's been fun. We've got a few more things lined up. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do next. It'll be a surprise to me as well as you, but that's coming up very, very soon. So until we talk again, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you again real soon.